So one of the very famous characters that we know about, and probably every human being in this world has respect for him, is Gautam Buddha. You'll probably find him in every household. He's not just looked upon as a deity or a god, but he's also looked upon as a piece of art through which people can attain peace. So do you think Gautam Buddha can be related to entrepreneurship?
Akansh, you have said something very relevant. Gautam Buddha indeed is respected by all. And you've talked about entrepreneurship. Gautam Buddha's teachings are so profound, at the same time they're so practical. That is why he appealed to somebody like Steve Jobs of Apple Computer. And if you look at Apple Computer, it's a very good example of Buddhist principles in action, in the real world. The whole design aesthetic of Apple is Zen-like. And that is the thing about Buddha. Buddha is so practical when we imbibe his teachings for our real life. All our walks in life, be it entrepreneurship, leadership, our personal relationships, our spiritual self-realization, because he teaches us about inner qualities. It all begins with inner qualities. And the first thing about Buddha is that he teaches us that the Buddha nature is within every being. In other words, you have a Buddha nature within you. It is just up to you to unlock that Buddha nature. Gautam Buddha is very unique. You see, there have been, in Buddhist law, there are many, many Buddhas. The Adi Buddhas, the older Buddhas. Gautam Buddha we relate to more because historically also we know he was there. So he signifies Buddhahood. It's not about him as an individual, it's about the state of Buddhahood. And the state of Buddhahood means one of absolute clarity, dynamism, boldness and courage, excellence in every sphere, friendliness to the world, mindfulness, meditativeness. These are the qualities which strengthen us at the very core of our being. It's like, Akansh, it's like the core of the atom. It has a great power, right? Atomic power. Imagine just a small, minute thing. Imagine the power of human consciousness. And Gautam's Buddha signifies the power of human consciousness. And when your consciousness becomes powerful, you become powerful in whatever you do. So if you're an entrepreneur, you become a great one because you're able to perceive things with pragya, insight. That is a key teaching of the Buddha. It begins from insight and takes you towards enlightenment. So at every step, we must seek to imbibe the quality of the Buddha. The second thing you've said is that Gautam Buddha indeed transcends our idea of so-called God, belief, etc. And that is why maybe if you go to a friend's house in the Middle East, there also in the drawing room you might find a bust of the Buddha. And don't you feel, Akansh, just looking at a statue of the Buddha, you can see that human quality of ananda, happiness, that quality of calmness, that quality of ultimate human success. And let's not forget, Akansh, that people from all walks of life have been influenced. You can see it in a great emperor like Ashoka, for example, in India. We have the Ashoka Chakra, we have the Ashoka lions. So he's at the heart of our civilization. And Akansh, Buddha's teachings were taken by Alexander's troops to Greece. From there they disseminated into the West. So his influence upon humanity is unique. And again, if we look eastward, you look at Sri Lanka, our neighboring country. You look at Burma, Tibet, China, South Korea, Japan, where Zen Buddhism flourished. And the samurai warlords used to follow it. The Buddha even inspired warriors who even fought with a sense of nobility of purpose. And also Japanese management theory. So when you talk about entrepreneurship, remember the aesthetic and the ethics and the value system of Japanese business management comes from the Buddha. These are a few examples of his power for today's world, for today's entrepreneurs. And I wish we can explore this deeper and deeper in this session.
So talking about influence of Gautam Buddha on New Age entrepreneurs. New Age entrepreneurs are running behind material happiness. They want to build 100 crore company, 1,000 crore company. But Gautam Buddha was someone who left material happiness and went into spirituality. How can there be a common ground where New Age entrepreneurs can learn from Gautam Buddha?
Akansh, the principles of excellence remain the same, whether one is in the material pursuit or one is in the mystical pursuit. It's about being a value creator. It's about fulfilling the potential. It's about fulfilling the potential of your own self-nature and creating well-being for others. Today you've started a company, Ontology. Now somewhere, while on the one hand you have your financial goals, ultimately your success, your company becoming God willing, Buddha willing, a unicorn one day, will depend on how much value you've created for others, right? So Gautam Buddha was using his utmost capability to enlighten the spark of divinity within people, to make them achieve their maximum potential. So if you buy an iPhone today, Akansh, you're doing it because you want to maximize your work potential, right? So in a way, that instrument is becoming a means for your ultimate self-potential realization. Or if somebody is interested in an ontology course, it's because they want to unlock the greatness within themselves. They want to evolve. And Gautam Buddha's teaching is all about self-evolution. Through that, all material benefits will also come. We've discussed this in another segment, Akansh. It's about nurturing the seed of your potential, watering the seed. So Gautam Buddha's teachings are what? They're watering the seed of your self-potential. Then the seed finds that wisdom and courage to break forth. It germinates. It becomes a plant. It becomes a tree. It becomes a mighty tree. The deeper the roots, the greater the tree. And the flowers and the fruits are byproducts which happen on the tree. So I tell entrepreneurs that the fruits of your company will accrue automatically. It's what Krishna tells Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. You continue doing your duty. You continue doing that which you're best at, Arjun, your swadharma as a warrior. And then the results come automatically. Don't get too involved with the results. Concentrate on building something good. And Gautam Buddha built a beautiful Sangha or commune during his lifetime. It's very interesting. I tell people, the best example of good teamwork is Buddha's Sangha. So many thousands of devotees working together for a good cause. Think about it. See how it's not really different, right? He being the team leader, there is a Sangha, there's a commune. They're all working towards maximizing the well-being of others. And remember, the Sangha was not isolated. Gautam Buddha used to send young people out to take his message into the world. In a way, this was an entrepreneurial journey. They were taking Gautam Buddha's message and they were disseminating it. He didn't have mass media then. They had to go individually. But you know what he used to whisper into their ears before they went? Charaivati, Charaivati. Keep moving on, keep flowing on. Move forward with dynamism. So the dynamic attitude in life is Gautam Buddha's way, and it is also an entrepreneur's way. You need to be dynamic. Keep moving on no matter the crisis, no matter the tough times. You see, Gautam Buddha was very interesting because kings used to come to him for advice. There's a king called Prasenjit. He's called Pasaneda in Pali. So kings, why would they come to him? It was not just for spiritual knowledge. It was for them to be even better rulers. So we can take wisdom and we can, for example, your startup is about wisdom in a way. So in a way, you are also fulfilling the task of what a good Buddhist disciple of Gautam Buddha would fulfill, right? But out of that, you're aiming for a material well-being for your team, for your members of the Ontology family, but more importantly for the people who are at the receiving end, who are going to be buying into Ontology, for example, who are investing their time and energy into getting involved with Ontology. Number one. Number two, on this point, it's very interesting because there are two stories of Buddha which kind of explain how this transition of his from being a prince happened into being the Buddha that we know. Now again, I talked about Buddha nature. Again, remember his journey did not start as Buddha when he was born. He was Siddhartha, right? So his journey also went from Siddhartha to Gautam Buddha. So we all start from our normal, so-called ordinary selves, but hidden within you is that diamond. You have to unearth it. See, when you're mining for a diamond, you have to dig, right? So that's the way. You have to explore your own self. And the first story is that when he was born, there was this rishi, this ascetic who lived in the village, and far away from the village, actually in the forest area. And he came because he saw something that happened. He's in his vision. And he came to the Suddhodana's court, Gautam Buddha's father's court. And he said, I want to see you. You've had a son, right? He's very special. I saw something. And the father took him and he said, your son will become a king, a great king, a Chakravartin, the greatest king. So the father said, that's very good news. He'll be my successor. He said, no. There are two sides. He may become the greatest king physically, as in looking after your kingdom, expanding it, but he also may become a king of wisdom. And he may leave everything. And by leaving everything, Gautam Buddha proved that sometimes we have to say goodbye to the old. To truly evolve, go to the next level. That should be an entrepreneur's vision. As they say in Zen Buddhism, a fresh mind. You see, we get caught in our conditioning, our boxes. A true entrepreneur is one who discards all old patterns of thought and conditioning, and who has a new way of doing things, a new way of creating a product, a new way of offering a service, and becoming a king in a new kingdom. That kingdom may be not physical, what he's used to, that comfort zone. Coming out of your comfort zone, as Siddhartha came out of his comfort zone, is the most relevant thing you can learn. You understand how relatable it is, Gautam Buddha's story, to each of us. And like I told you, a Buddha is not just a physical Buddha, a person. Buddha means a state of being. So you have to bring out the Buddha in you. How you bring out your Buddha in you doesn't mean that you become a Buddhist per se. It means in your own way, in your own unique set, with your own unique set of skills, talents, expression, you go out and you unlock that Buddha within yourself. You create value, you see the value in yourself, you let that shine and you create value for others. The second story about Gautam Buddha is similar. Another astrologer had seen his footprints on the sand and he again went and met him. He said, but your footprints, he could read, it's a mystic science. So he said, your footprints should be of a king. Why are you walking on this beach barefoot, clothed as a monk? That time he had not become the Gautam Buddha, he was a monk, just an ordinary. So then he realized, no, this man is a king but of a different dimension. So we must all strive. There's an emperor within us, there's a king within us. But we must find that correct kingdom for ourselves. So a startup, for example, you begin small, but you're looking to create this empire of goodness which inspires others, right? That is why I'm saying that the journey of Gautam Buddha is the journey of every individual. It's just that very few realize their self-potential like he did. On that score, I must tell you a story. A disciple of Buddha came to him and he said, but Bhante, you say that anyone can become a Buddha, we are all Buddhas, but how come in this whole area you're the only Buddha? How many people actually become Buddhas? So he said, go to the village and make a list of what people want to be and come back in the evening. And the disciple came back with the list. And Buddha asked, does anyone on that list want to be a Buddha? Does anyone want to achieve mukti, moksha, freedom? Does anybody want to free their mind and achieve ultimate enlightenment? And the monk said, no. He said, then without the desire for enlightenment, without the desire for evolving psychologically, spiritually, how can it happen? So the basis is what your deep driving desire is. So a good entrepreneur's basic intention is the seed. If your intention is good, the action follows. Get it, Akansh? So Akansh, what I'm trying to say is that, first of all, like Gautam Buddha said, as your desire, so shall be your destiny. Okay? So that's how relevant he is for entrepreneurs.
So also another doubt that I had and wanted to ask you is, there are many opportunities that knock on one's door. But how do you know which is the correct opportunity? For example, Buddha realized that his calling was to go into the forest and give up the princely estate. So how do you realize your calling?
Akanksh, with this question, you have hit upon the very root of Buddha's message. That root is called jhana. Jhana, he used to use Pali, is what we call dhyana in meditation, right? In Sanskrit, what the rishis call dhyana. It means going within yourself, the meditative attitude towards life. You see, the Buddha's basis is meditativeness. And you'll notice that, like we mentioned, the statues of the Buddhas, what is the quality you find? You'll find a coolness of his being, but what is behind that? It is the meditative attitude. And Buddha's way was about the meditative way. So when you said, how do we identify what's right for us? It's the most important question, because when you're going on a journey, the direction should be right. You want to go to Pune, but your compass is not correct, your navigator is not correct, you'll reach Nashik, right? So the thing is, your direction comes through that internal compass. All of us have an internal compass. We need to learn how to read the compass. And reading the compass means internalizing. Please remember this. It's called, friends, it's called internalization. So you have to go deep within yourself. Self-inquiry. There the answer is there. You see, the guru is within, as the rishis used to say. In fact, in yoga, there's a guru chakra also within us. The guru is within, everything is within you. As we said, the Buddha is within you. But the Buddhu is also within you. The Buddhu, what we say, the foolish person. So the man is a combination of the Buddha and the Buddhu. Buddhu means the person who gets carried away by moods, emotions, etc. Buddha is the one who doesn't get carried away, who's the unshakable witness of things. And the ultimate thing you can witness is your self-wisdom. So Buddha's path is about self-wisdom. You know, interestingly, one of his most favorite disciples, Ananda. And Ananda is a very interesting word. You know, he was a cousin of Buddha's and he used to look after Buddha right till the end. Ananda means bliss, and Buddha gave him the reason, because the reason he gave him the name was because Buddha used to consider the state of bliss, Ananda, to be the very basis of all our life's decision making. Do that which gives you Ananda or bliss, but also do to others what gives them Ananda or bliss. You see the relevance in an entrepreneurial business way. If a company can truly create bliss for others, everything becomes blissful, automatically your numbers add up, right? Now when it comes to your question, so Ananda asked Buddha later in his life, he said, Bante means teacher in Pali, why am I not becoming enlightened? There are so many people in this Sangha who become enlightened. And I, your closest disciple, have not become enlightened. I've spent the maximum time with you. Buddha smiled. You know his benign Buddha smile, and he said, Ananda, the day I depart, you will become enlightened. And when Buddha passed away from his physical body, achieved nirvana, he had already achieved it in his life, but when he physically shed, the clothes of the body really, and became a oneness, that very day it is said Ananda achieved enlightenment. And he had cried that day. He had cried a lot that Buddha had passed away, but he achieved enlightenment, and he realized one thing. He realized that he was too attached to Buddha. He used to consider Buddha to be Buddha. He never realized he is also a Buddha. Then he remembered Buddha's words, Apo Deepo Bhava. Light the lamp within your being, light the lamp within your heart. And when the Buddha was not there in physical form, Ananda saw that lamp shining bright within his own heart. So you see what I'm getting at? I'm saying that it all lies within you to see that inner light, as Buddha said. Akansh, in this regard, one story comes to mind. It's very important. You see, before Gautam Buddha became Gautam Buddha, even he had to go by trial and error, my friend. He went to many teachers in those years. Even a person of his intelligence. And remember, from a child only, he was extraordinary. He used to excel at the martial arts. He used to excel at studies. But what was happening is no teacher could match his level of. So he was not feeling a completeness. But remember, it's not bad to try and try again and fail. As Elon Musk says, which is very relevant for entrepreneurs. If you're not failing enough, you're not trying enough, right? So even a person like Gautam Buddha had to try. There's no harm to try. Before you really start swimming, it's okay if you can just paddle around a little bit, right? Then you learn how to swim. But with Buddha, there are two things which are very important. One is khanti. Khanti means patience. So you have to have patience. Don't worry. It doesn't feel like the right opportunity, it will come along. It's like Gautam Buddha, once was traveling with his disciple Ananda, and they were crossing a stream, and they crossed the stream and they rested after that. So Gautam Buddha told Ananda that go and fetch water from the stream, I'm thirsty. So Ananda fetched water and he came back, and Buddha looked at the water and he said, isn't the water muddy? So Ananda said, yes, the water is not clear. So he said, okay, go back and fetch the water again. Then he went and fetched the water and he got the water was crystal clear. So Buddha said, did you understand why I sent you twice? He said, Bhante, why did you send me twice? The same river? He's saying, no, first time we had crossed it. Our feet had made the mud rise a little bit. Second time, the water was clear. So you have to let things settle. The mind is like water. It's like the lake. You have to let it settle. That is called the principle of khanti. But the test of things, when do you find the right thing? I'll give you one test of it. The test of it is, can you put your heart, mind and soul into that task? That is your calling, my friend. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying somebody is doing something right and bad and he says, this is my heart, mind and soul. No, his soul can never be in it. Somebody asked Buddha, what is good thing, good virtue and bad? He said the difference between good and bad is your state of consciousness. In a good state of consciousness, you don't do the bad thing. In a wrong state of consciousness, you do everything wrong. Or it's a mix of both. So it begins with the state of consciousness. But like I said, if your consciousness feels, sometimes, Akansh, don't you feel, say you're a cricketer. Don't you feel on the cricket pitch, you feel a completeness of being? That's what I'm talking about. So whatever you do, if you can feel that you can pour yourself completely, that is your calling, and don't hold yourself back. That's it, Akansh. Otherwise, life is a dynamic issue. Yesterday's good thing turns out to be redundant. Companies become dinosaurs. So it's a question of constant evolution. There's no final solution, right? The idea is, am I truly in a state of ananda while doing this task? That's key.
So talking about cricket, there are two individuals I admire a lot personally. One is Rahul Dravid and other is MS Dhoni, the captain cool. The reason being, no matter how much the opponent tried sledging them, no matter how much pressure they had on their shoulders, but they never showed it on their face. They never showed it in their actions. Their state of mind was always composed. Do you think this has a relation with Gautam Buddha's state of mind as well?
You've given two very good examples in our world of today, two icons like Rahul Dravid. You mentioned MS Dhoni. There are two things. First of all, don't you feel that they have a great coolness of being? So it stems from there. Their excellence stems from coolness of being. That is, see, the ultimate state of the Buddha is absolute shitalta, coolness of being. And you mentioned Buddha's mind, but actually the Buddha has no mind. The Buddha has a universal mind. So the state of coolness is really where both these cricketing examples I can start from. Number two, you said, how come they don't react like others do? So the true way of the Buddha is to act, not react. Once what happened is that in the Sangha, someone came and spat on the Buddha, some outsider. And Gautam Buddha didn't do anything. He just remained as he was. And the disciples got very agitated. Of course, their master was being slandered like this, spat upon. So they wanted to react. And he said, no, the person insulted me. It's up to me whether I want to take the insult or not. I refused to take the insult. And the next day, the person came back and he folded hands and he took maafi, he took forgiveness of the Buddha. So Buddha is an example who teaches us these core values. Now MS Dhoni and Rahul Dravid, while not literally identifying with this, but somewhere you'll feel, you talked about sledging, that's also a way of spitting at somebody, right, or saying something spiteful. I'm saying when it gets ugly. So the idea is to maintain this bhava, this state of being which is solid. Why is Dravid called the wall? His state of being is solid. You feel you can trust the guy. You know what I mean? The team can trust him. Even at a personal level, you can sort of trust him. Because he's not erratic, right? It seems he also has a quality of empathy for teammates. You'll see his behavior with the opponent. He has empathy. He has an idea of, somewhere you find the quality of karuna also in him. He's very considerate of others, right? Even in his personal demeanor, you've seen through these decades the dignity he maintains of being. He has karuna, he has metta, friendliness to the world. And these are fundamentally Buddha qualities. And there's a third quality, it's called upekha. Okay? It means mental equilibrium. No matter what happens, your mind and moods don't go, or even if they go, but within there's something abiding. So that quality of upekha is very important, and you'll find it in iconic people like you mentioned, these two cricketers. And it helps them not only move towards personal excellence, but makes them thought leaders. That's why these two cricketers have always been respected, no matter what team you belong to or what country you belong to, they have a sort of a universal respect. And that is what true charismatic leadership means. So even beyond the cricket field, because of this mental equilibrium that they carry, upekha that they carry, they'll always be great mentors to people and great examples of leadership to people. And in people's minds, they will always be leaders. And they don't, like Rahul Dravid, never hankered for a position of leadership. You see the beauty of it. What I really admire about Rahul Dravid was never into this power game. He always seemed apart. And he never complained. So, in the Sangha, in Buddha's Sangha, they were again some of the greatest meditators and names that you and I will never know. But you see, they are the real backbone of that whole value system which Buddha created. So they're content being team players, but at the same time their personal excellence exceeds all bounds.
So in today's day and age, people expect leaders to be dynamic and aggressive. Whereas Buddha is someone who represents a calm state of mind. So what do you think is the correct way of leadership? Being a calm leader or being an aggressive leader?
Akanksh, leadership has a lot of dimensions. Sometimes we are needed to act maybe with a little more vigor than other times. Sometimes we should act with a little more patience than other times. But you mentioned, how should a leader be? I feel the true test of a leader is another Buddhist concept. It's called mudita. Mudita means taking joy in others' well-being, looking out for others' well-being. Mudita creates shraddha, it creates trust, it creates faith. So where this idea of taking joy in others' well-being, automatically the leader will be a good leader. Because that leader is concerned about, if they're building a product, about the product. If they're building a service, about the service. See, today's paradigm of business has changed, right? Previously it used to be, how do we collect the maximum resources, how do we but in today's age, a person with less resources also can have a disproportionate and beautiful influence of people around the world. So it's that real intention that you come from. If you invest your intention in mudita, creating well-being, not only do you feel happier and more fulfilled, that's the beauty, you see. So people think, the Buddha made a sacrifice serving the world. No, Buddha was realizing his own self-potential. But at the same time, serving the world happens on its own. You see the fantastic thing, and the Sangha grew on its own. Look at the Sangha as a great successful company. For example, Gautam Buddha's following in his own lifetime had never happened before. It was huge. Everyone from common people, poor people, people across castes, creeds, religions, kings, emperors, like I mentioned, people from all walks of life gathered around him. Don't you think he built the world's most powerful community? We talk about building communities, right? New age business, we talk about building communities. He built it, and it just happened because, in Buddhism there's a saying, when the flower has a good fragrance, the bees will come on their own. You don't need to do much. And it's a very good paradigm for today's, say, social media, for example. If you are able to disseminate a good message, you will have people coalesce around it. Of course, a lot of people take advantage and they put out bad messages. But that is not the way of the Buddha, because eventually it's creating bad karma for yourself. It does not really take you. So on one side it may benefit you materially, but on the mystic side it does not benefit you. But here we're talking about completeness, right? Mystic and material together. That is the real success in life. That is real fulfillment in life. Material success without that bliss is not real happiness. It just ends up nowhere, because one dies, without being a true value creator of happiness in other people's lives. Right, Akash?
So talking about continuous evolution of yourself, does Buddha has any teachings where people can look into fresh ideas? Because as you said that one needs to be committed to the work they are doing. But at the same time, Buddha talks about one needs to be committed to themselves. So is there any fine line that Buddha has taught us where people can look at things with a fresh outlook?
Akansh, in Zen Buddhism there's a concept called the beginner's mind. The beginner's mind means what? No matter if you've done a task 1,000 times, every time you do it with a fresh mindset. So that freshness of being, it's a relaxed freshness of being, a new way of looking at things. You look at a sunset yesterday, fine, but today's sunset is new, right? So you look at it again. So you'll get some new sense of beauty in that moment. So the beginner's mind is the key to the innovative, creative mind. Very good example, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs used to say that he doesn't believe in too much market research. He says, if I do too much market research, I'll just be rehashing the same old stuff, right? So he actually went a lot into Buddhism later on. Of course, his journey, he was with, Vaishnavism for a while. He did visit Neem Karori Baba, which he considered absolutely life transforming. So much so that one of the people he mentored, Mark Zuckerberg, he advised him to go to Neem Karoli Baba's ashram. And from that point, Facebook really grew. But coming to his later years, he really was in Zen Buddhism and he was a practicing meditator. And he used to say that he doesn't believe in too much market research because it's better to do something new, innovative, path-breaking. That is the need of the hour. See, Akansh, there are two things. One is one can be an imitator. But imitators are bound to become dinosaurs. We had discussed this before. There was such a great company like Nokia, which was such a market leader in the mobile space. What happened to Nokia? People used to swear by Nokia. A market like India, such a big market, it was inundated with Nokia. Nokia everywhere, such strong branding. But somewhere, Akansh, don't you think that they got caught in their conditioned ideas about how mobile phones should be, where it's going? It's kind of a rehash of the same stuff. So the paradigm breakers, the people who come up with that eureka breakthrough moment for mankind, look to that sense of quantum leap, okay? And that quantum leap happens when we look at things afresh. So Elon Musk, rocket company also is very interesting, SpaceX. So he's looked at, so these level of people will always look at things with a fresh perspective. That is the Zen beginner's mind. The example in Zen is, if you're a great archer, so you're shooting the arrow, right? But if you think about how you shot the arrow yesterday, you'll not take the best shot. Because your mind comes in between. In Zen, it's called no mind. No mind means your mind of yesterday is gone. If you notice our minds, Akansh, at a very deep, Buddha is very relevant for psychology. Because his is not about faith in or belief in a particular God, right? So his is more about human consciousness. If you notice yourself, most of our thoughts are repeated from yesterday. But the Buddha nature, the Buddha state of being, or the Buddha stream is where every moment is afresh. We have mentioned this somewhere before. You cannot dip your feet into the same river twice because the river is flowing. Same with the river of life. Yesterday's news is yesterday's news. It's gone. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is to come. Today, here and now. So Buddha's thing is here and now. And I say a truly creative person at a practical level in a business way knows the here and now need. Okay? So the here and now means you are left all your learning behind. You've left all your ideas behind, and you don't go by acquired knowledge. You go by insight. So the idea of Buddhahood is having fresh insight into the moment. So if you're able to read things today with a fresh mind, you'll feel very dynamic, first of all, and number two, your decision will be clear. Somewhere Buddhism is about clarity of consciousness. And clarity of consciousness is what Steve Jobs used to try and inculcate. That's why he used to discard most of the ideas. There's a story about, Apple people, top people going to a retreat in California, and they made a list, of 10 things they wanted to do. He just crossed out the last 8. He said, we'll focus on 2. So sometimes we try to do too much. We create a clutter in our mind. Decluttering is the name of the game, my friend. Minimalism is the name of the game, my friend. That is the new paradigm. Concentrating on your core beliefs, and that is the way successful entrepreneurs are made. You'll notice they'll just take 2 or 3 things which they truly are clear about. And clear-headedness means dropping the baggage of thought. It's like wiping a mirror clean, Akansh. The mirror is the same, right? But the dust comes on it. You just wipe the mirror clean. That is the Buddha's way. Okay? From that comes innovativeness, creativeness, and excellence in entrepreneurship or leadership.
So talking about minimalistic lifestyle, do you think an Apple iPhone, being such a clean iPhone, is influenced by the minimalistic thought of Gautam Buddha?
100% Akansh, I strongly believe that Steve Jobs was actually using what Buddha called neti neti, negation. The sword of neti neti, the Zen sword, to cut off that which is not needed, only keep the functional. I'm absolutely convinced that your iPhone, which you carry in your pocket, is connected to the Buddha. Isn't that exciting? That makes the Buddha fresh for us. That's what I'm telling you, my friends. The Buddha is not just a historical figure who lived that long ago. No, the Buddha is here and now. Let's implement his principles. Let's understand. Neti neti means like the sculpture Michelangelo. He created David, the sculpture. Somebody asked him, how do you create such great sculptures? He said, I do nothing. I see the stone there and I chop what is not needed. I cut it. Then what happens? A beautiful sculpture remains. That is neti neti. And neti neti, the sword of it, can cut through any problem in life. We are over anxious. We are over inundated with thoughts. And we identify with all those thoughts running around. It's called the monkey mind in Buddhism. Don't have the monkey mind. Look beyond that monkey mind is that calm witness of all. That is your Buddha nature. That is the dhyani. That is the person of jhana or meditation, right? So it's about cultivating that cool calmness of being, and then from that, it's like seeing a movie on the screen. Your mind is like that, Akansh. The images keep changing. Now, if you identify with everything, but some way you should look at it like it's a movie, right? And take what you have to, that's all. Don't get too shattered if it's sad, right? Don't get too happy if there's a happy scene. Yeah, enjoy yourself. But true enjoyment comes from not getting identified with all your fluctuating moods. And so the iPhone is a very interesting physical product of Buddhist philosophy, I feel. It shows how the link between Buddha and our practical world can merge, thereby making his philosophy more relevant and practical. And I say to an entrepreneur, I said, why are you getting so confused? You and me discussed ontology, how you decided to just focus on 2 or 3 things instead of getting carried away by too many ideas. See, ideas can keep flowing. But like I told you, if you identify those where you can be total in your energy, stick to those. That itself, the beauty about today's businesses is that they take a small niche, so-called niche, yesterday's niche, what they used to consider, that's a small market. But they realize it just expands into this huge thing, right? So it's better to be master of that lake instead of trying to be the greatest monster in the ocean, right? Because there are big sharks there. There's no need to do it. Small is beautiful. Small is beautiful, Akansh. Clarity is good. All these virtues are about minimalism. And minimalism means negating, cutting out what you can call the nonsense around things. And you feel relaxed. because then you don't have to think about too many things. See, Steve Jobs takes it to an extreme. He used to even repeat that same style of turtleneck, black and jeans. He used to make life simple there also at that level. So he took it to he was a real practicing Buddhist, that way.
So Gautam Buddha also had a great impact on people back then and continues to impact people even today. And when we talk about new age entrepreneurship or new age leadership, networking is a very important factor nowadays. People want to connect to more people, be it through social media, be it physically, but connection has become the core of entrepreneurship and leadership in today's world. How do you think we can derive networking lessons from Gautam Buddha?
Gautam Buddha always believed that we should share that which is best in us. He used to say that sharing is the best way to increase good qualities. It's a very interesting take. Usually materially you have 100 rupees, you share it, it's over, right? But he used to say sneha, affection. The more you share, the more you get. It's a very beautiful thing and it's totally related to your question. It's like a mountain echo. You go, you say something and the echo comes back to you tenfold. So our qualities of inner bliss, inner peace, sneha, whatever our offering may be, the more it's shared, the better it propagates and the more well-being it creates for you also. So if you think about it like that, sharing your best inner qualities, automatically this networking problem gets solved. A lot of people I know, they hesitate to write that email, they hesitate to make the phone call. We have this thing. I think in India also, somehow some of our social skills, we're scared to kind of, make that call, etc. Or maybe we're making the call at the wrong time. That's the other side, right? But with Gautam Buddha, you find this, what you find it's called Arya, nobility of mind. So he functions from a nobility. It's called Aryahood. So that Aryavrata, and India was called Aryavrata by, the Tibetans and earlier, because they said that, there's such noble qualities over there. So a civic sense and so on. But like I was coming to the idea of sharing never depletes good qualities. Okay? So whatever power that you have, which is unlimited within you. See, Gautam Buddha used to say, the power of peace is unlimited within you. The power of coolness, calmness is unlimited within you. It's just that you don't know it. You need to practice it more, right? The power of sneha, affection, metta, friendliness, all these are unlimited. So metta I had mentioned. To be a good networker, you need to be a friendly person, right? And at the core of Buddhist ethics is the quality of metta. A friendly attitude to all means you're able to share the very highest quality you have. Make that the basis of networking. And then you'll see people respond to you in a friendly manner. That's the best part. Like I had mentioned, it is the quality of maitri, of friendliness, and empathy, metta, which is really important. So, they say the future Buddha will be called Maitreya. Maitreya means the Buddha of friendliness. And it's very interesting in this age, we talk about making friends on Facebook. Imagine the future Buddha who's to come was called the Buddha Maitreya. So, it's a strange coincidence, right? And Buddhism is very deep. Guru Padmasambhava, who's actually Guru Rinpoche in Tibetan Buddhism, had actually said years, how many years, hundreds of years back, he had said, the dharma will travel to the west when the iron bird flies in the sky. Literally when aircraft go, right? So the dissemination of Buddhahood, of Buddhism is also a very interesting example in this regard. How do you think Buddha spread his message, or his message spread throughout Southeast Asia, throughout the Far East and Orient? Those guys were also disseminating a message, right? They were networking, right? Correct? How were they doing it? Because everywhere they used to go with a sense of dignity, calmness, coolness, friendliness, maitri. With that spirit, more and more people started becoming influenced. So they were true influencers. You get the idea, Akansh, how relevant and fresh Gautam Buddha's concepts are for today. So it's that missionary zeal that they had. They were taking Buddha's message and they were disseminating it to new people. And people are connecting to that message. You see the exact parallels we have between today's business and what they were trying to do. So Buddha was not only a leader, see, he never considered himself a leader, but he was leading, right? And this whole movement came out of him and he was creating many leaders. So he used to always believe in disseminating through these influencers, through these people who were taking it out. But essentially their inner qualities made people respond to them. Think about it. A strange guy from India is landing up in Cambodia. How is he able to influence so many people to follow Buddha's way? Or in South Korea, how? Or in China, like Bodhidharma. You know, we've heard about Shaolin martial art, right? But do you know Bodhidharma from Kerala was the one who started it there? So it's very interesting. There was a lot of resistance to him from the establishment. But eventually the emperor recognized him. It's a very funny story because the emperor said, see, I built so many temples, I built so many things. Which heaven will I go to? And Bodhidharma said, you'll go to the lowest hell. And the emperor was shocked. He said, why I do so many holy acts? He said, these holy acts are all nonsense. True holy act is within meditation. And the next day the emperor went and saw him in the cave. And Bodhidharma almost hit him with a stick. Still the emperor remained unmoved in meditation. And Bodhidharma said, yes, now you will go to the highest heaven. So it's about inner qualities, Akanksh. Always remember, it starts from there. So what I'm saying is, if the quality of that thing is good, that person is automatically able to disseminate their message, their good message, in a better way.
So talking about new age entrepreneurs, or not just necessarily new age entrepreneurs, even older people nowadays who are into business or who are into a professional career, at times they lose hope. They feel that everything is going away from them. They are not being able to achieve what they set out for. How do they come back to their consciousness?
I feel, Akanksh, the first thing they should realize is that they're not the first person to lose hope. And you know what? Every good journey begins, a new thing begins, often when the old is destroyed. And you know what it happens? Like we say, no, the first time lucky guys who succeed, they're not necessarily lucky, huh? Because they think that everything will be a success. And they say, like as an entrepreneur, they say the guy who's actually faced failure early becomes a more solid entrepreneur, right? You've seen this, Akanksh, right? Because they keep trying and they try again. First thing is, in moments of crisis or hopelessness, one's ego gets destroyed. Correct? And that is a very good place to start afresh. The ego makes us less gutsy. True guts, true courage, true mindfulness, true insight, and doing something meaningful always stem when there's a moment of crisis. So in India, we have the story of Ram. Now Ram went into exile in the forest, Akanksh. That was a very difficult situation. But did he lose his bearing? He didn't lose his mental bearing, right? He took us to a different level, Indian civilization, and he became Maryada Purushottam for us. So Ram is a greatest example of how we are to take something which seems to others that it's a bad situation and make it evolve us to a different level, to fight a greater battle in life. Same with Buddha. Buddha actually, it seems from the outside, he had to sacrifice his kingdom and all that. But he was looking at something greater. So let that be a new starting point. And rather it's good because the old is destroyed. And the other thing is, I think when it comes to such a point, a big mistake entrepreneurs make is that they expand too fast, they try and do too many things. So it comes back to that basics, simplicity, small is beautiful, doing what one does to the best of one's ability, and through that doing the right thing and moving forward. Charaivati, as he says, no matter what. And remember, there is no actual destination. In Buddhism, it is said that the quality of the first step, when you're climbing a mountain, the quality of your first step you take determines the rest of the journey. The mountain will be climbed, but it is how you take the first step, in what state of being. Your state of being is important. But if before climbing the mountain, you have totally lost hope, yes, in between also you may injure your foot, but then you have to sit and rest. Rest, allow it to heal. In Buddhism, there's something called hurry, but hurry slowly. Khanti, patience. So if you are injured on the way, like a madman, don't keep running. Rest. Rest means rest within your inner being. Mindfulness. Go into that inner state of internalization. Through that, something good will come. Let it be a pause. There's a story in Buddhism about these two monks. They had to reach the next monastery in a hurry. They had to reach before sundown. Okay, they had taken a boat which took them to that shore. So the boatmen left them on that shore, and they started running because they said it'll be sunset, and in the dark, there'll be animals and all. So let's go. And the boatman said, wait, hurry, but don't go. Don't be in a hurry. Hurry, but go slowly. They didn't understand. They thought he's a crazy guy. He's just a boatman. And you know what happened in that hurry? The older monk broke his foot, and what happened? The journey was not accomplished in time. They had to stay the night in the wild. So this idea of mindfulness means settle within your being. Take it one step at a time. Right? And one step at a time doesn't mean you can't make the quantum leap. See, the beauty about the Buddha does nothing. It looks like the Buddha is just sitting and meditating. But do you realize how much good he's doing in the world? What do you think? Do you think creating a company is more valuable than a Buddha just meditating? A Buddha does not go himself and feed the poor, right? But his impact at the level of consciousness and for all of humanity is profound. So that itself is valuable. And that happens when you don't lose hope, when you have that shraddha, when you look within, and out of that your better qualities emerge.
So how can one be happy? In today's fast-paced world, everyone is running behind achieving something and leaving behind happiness somewhere. How can one be in the state of happiness?
Akanksh, sukha or happiness is something that Gautam Buddha has addressed a lot. Okay? Now, first of all, he says that happiness is not the destination. Happiness is the path itself. You see the beauty of it? Happiness is the path itself. And on this he says something very important. He says that with one candle, 1,000 other candles can be lit, right? Theoretically. Or 10 candles or 20 candles. So what he's trying to say is, first of all, make the process itself happy. The process of living life. There is nothing called I'll reach here and I'll be happy. Each step make it happy. Right? That's up to you. And how do you manufacture, create happiness for yourself and others? By sharing it like that candle. You see? So what happens is, if you're sharing that light of that flame from one candle, don't have to put it off. So what happens? The light gets increased, right? It becomes double. So on and so forth. So these things are very important. And I find that this, you've heard of the country Bhutan, right? Bhutan is a very important neighbor of India, of course. The population of Bhutan is not even 8 lakhs. Can you believe it? It's such a small country, but it has a lot of importance in the world because their idea of gross national happiness is taken as a thought leader in the world when it comes to human index, okay, well-being of people. And in Bhutan, the environment is very well protected. Their whole aim is focused towards not GDP, but GNH, gross national happiness. And that's recognized worldwide. And coincidentally, it's a Buddhist country. But what I'm saying is that they absorb this happiness teaching from the Buddhas. So again, like I said, the 2 keys to happiness, number 1 is every step make it happy. Don't wait for it. That's up to you. And number 2, share it. Because happiness only grows by sharing. Happiness is like that. Notice, today if you share your happiness with others, a happy attitude with others, your own happiness will also grow. It's reciprocal. And it's very relevant from a customer point of view, from a business point of view, entrepreneur point of view. Eventually a product or service should create happiness for others. It should take away pain. It should give them pleasure, but not pleasure. It should give them happiness. And Gautam Buddha used to talk about pleasure and pain, but beyond pleasure and pain is this blissfulness. So manifesting it in everything you do, through everything you do, and also sharing. Simple.
So you just mentioned about Gautam Buddha receiving nirvana before his soul departed from his body. What exactly is nirvana?
Akanksh, nirvana means not anything in particular that one becomes or any particular thing coming into one. Rather, it means a oneness through dissolution of the self, through complete freedom of the self. The self and the universe become one. One becomes merged with universal consciousness. Of course, in yogic parlance, we've heard of samadhi. But nirvana has more to do with freedom, complete freedom from the fetters of karmic binding and so on. It means a letting go of whatever, all our bindings, all our attachments, and achieving a bliss which is infinite, which is beyond limits. And letting go means letting go of one's past, one coming out of one's whole chain of karmic actions and reactions, becoming free. And in nirvana, there's a very interesting concept. Whilst Buddha achieved nirvana, even while he was alive, in yoga we call it a jivan mukta, a person who's achieved enlightenment even while being alive. And then the body goes on, but they do everything in an enlightened state. And it is said about the Buddha that he, in a metaphorical sense, that before every being in the universe enters the state of nirvana, he as a bodhisattva, he as a doer of good for all, is not ready to give up on the world. Means in some form, his presence will be there to help others move towards excellence. So that is the compassion of the Buddhas. In other words, nirvana also means going beyond the limited self. Mind, body, spirit. Nirvana means negation of the self which we think is the self and merging into the absolute, the ultimate, the infinite. An extinction of that which we think to be the I and going into that profound infinity of oceanic bliss.
So to summarize, what would you say? What would be Buddha's greatest teachings for leaders and entrepreneurs?
Akanksh, perhaps Gautam Buddha's greatest teaching is that we are to realize that we ourselves are Buddhas. In other words, he has been reminding us that while we may not be exactly like him, while we may not renounce the world, we can still emulate him in his demeanor, in the way he was, living life gracefully, intelligently, alertly. These are the qualities of the Buddhas, not only of Gautam Buddha, but of the Buddhas. So awakening the spark of that Buddha nature, doing everything meditatively with great joy and great bliss, I think is the biggest factor to have a good work ethic. Don't you think, Akanksh? If a team is, it's like an engine functioning nicely. If an engine is well oiled, it doesn't make much noise, right? So it's that oiling of the machine, the work is going smoothly, harmoniously, coming into a harmony of heart, mind, body, soul. Or within an organization, creating such efficiency. In Buddhism, it is said the best king is the one who nobody knows is the king. It's a very interesting thing. So a greatest leader is like that. He's leading so well that nobody even needs to refer to the leader every day. So the greatest leader is the greatest team worker. It's not, let's not put it leadership like, oh, this is a leader and this is the team. No, everybody is a leader, right? So the leadership, have a leadership consciousness. Buddhahood means having that leadership consciousness when it comes to be a self-starter in that way. Therefore, invest your work with all your love, passion, energy, etc. But at the same time, maintain a cool, calm demeanor. That takes you to the next level of functioning. See, Akanksh, sometimes we feel, oh, the Buddha, how can we be as great as him, etc. We treat him like the star, That's the way we treat truly great people. But he is to always remind people that, see, I am just as ordinary as you. So in that ordinariness lies extraordinariness. You see, realizing that it makes you relaxed in the sense that you don't have to become something great. You already are. So rest in your own quality. We had spoken about Krishna and Arjun. Rest in the Swadharma. That itself is divine. You don't have to become a Buddha or a CEO or leader. First is that santosha, that contentment with who you are, with what you are. Because that itself is the uncut diamond. And to cut that diamond, you just need to chop off the unnecessary in life. And then you're left illumined, shining, brilliant. And to that brilliance, people are attracted. And your leadership position rises always.